We're back. Another 2021 rookie profile. Is Sage Surratt a heat seeker? Watch and find out. It's Brad from RotoHeat and RookieDraftGuide.com. Welcome back to the channel. We want to thank you guys for everybody who's been showing up and leaving comments and getting involved in these player outlooks. If you haven't already subscribed, do so. Do it for the RotoHeat team. Do it for the RookieDraftGuide.com team. If you have already, thank you. Hit the like. Let's get this thing up to 100 likes. Let's tell YouTube that you appreciate and you love what you're seeing here. And don't forget, check out RookieDraftGuide.com. All right, today's question. We got one per show as always. Is Sage Surratt one of your top 10 rookie wide receivers? Let me know in the comments below and let's keep this conversation going. Surratt, 6'2", 6'3"-ish, around 215 pounds, came out of Denver, North Carolina, East Lincoln High School. Three-star prospect, was kind of in the mid-100s when you look at overall rankings at the wide receiver position, if you're looking at like 247 or Rivals or some of them. Coming out of high school, he had plenty of offers. North Carolina, East Carolina, App State, were among other names when I was looking through the list of teams that showed interest, had some sort of offer made to him. Obviously chose Wake Forest, and when he got there, he produced pretty well. We only saw 2 seasons of action, but what we saw is a player who continued to grow, continued to develop, started getting used in different ways and moved around the formations and involved in a lot of different ways in the passing game. In his freshman year, he was involved in all 10 games, 41 catches, 581 yards, 4 touchdowns, like 14 yards per reception. Sophomore season, even more involved, 66 receptions, 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns. There's plenty of production and plenty of growth going on that you're like, okay, there's something here. And the interesting thing with Surratt is there's nothing that you see that's overly concerning. He obviously sat out 2020. Everybody had that opportunity to opt out if they chose to stay safe and, getting ready for the draft and doing some of those things. So I think pro days, combine season, whatever that winds up looking like will be really intriguing for a guy like Surratt because there's not a ton of tape. Now, obviously, 2 seasons worth of tape and a dog in the background. I think he fits nicely as an X receiver, which is what Wake Forest used him as quite a bit, kind of moved him around and did some different things in the passing game. I think I'm really intrigued. I'm really intrigued to see what happens with him as we move to the next level. Obviously we saw growth. If you watch 2019 footage, throughout the season, you saw good, the bad, everything in between. I think it'll be interesting to see how pro teams look at him because with him, you're going to have to truly trust the tape. You'll get to see a little bit of pro days, but we know pro days are typically scripted. There's a lot to help the player look good. So scouts are going to have to trust what they're seeing on the film. And we haven't seen him on the film in over a year. So I'll be really intrigued with a player like this because he's got the size, a fair amount of speed. It'll be interesting to see, kind of some time, the measurements that all go into his profile building up to the draft. But it'll be interesting to see where he goes. The $1 million question, the league-winning championship team-making question you have to ask yourself is, what do you do with the player? Is Sage Surratt a guy that you're going to take as one of the top 10 rookie wide receivers in this class? That was my question to you. You can make a case for any one of probably 5 to 7 players to push their way up with a good combine season, with good interviews, with good good measurements and tape and things like that. He's one of those guys that, a couple of years back, if you were in Devy leagues, he was the hot name to own. He was a guy that people were excited about. He is an above average route runner. He does a good job at creating separation. Some of the evaluators, so when I look through the evaluators' notes for RookieDraftGuide.com, the guys all seem to be positive on the player. They all had interesting takes. Some thought he was kind of more of a deep threat guy. Some needed to see some more development in the route tree. A lot of kind of intrigue, but also concern, kind of more of a tepid excitement about him. And I think that's kind of what you're going to see until we see what team drafts him and where they go after him. If he's a day 2 pick, he's going to shoot up rookie drafts most likely. On the other side of it, if he goes, 5th round, well, then people are going to be a lot less excited, and he's probably more of a 3rd to 4th round pick in a rookie draft. That being said, let's keep this conversation going. Discord, Facebook, all the places. Let's talk about Surratt. Obviously, I started back up the weekly streams on last week, which would have been, the 11th would have been the Devy Hour. We talked rookie wide receivers that we're intrigued by. We did not talk Surratt, but Surratt will come up at some point because there's a lot to like. There's also some concerns there. Surratt's not a guy that is one of the top 5 to 10 receivers right now in people's eyes, but he's a guy that is a sleeper in most people's eyes. Could push himself up the draft board very quickly with a good combine season, with good pro days and all of that. So let us know. Let's have that conversation. If you're looking at rookiedraftguy.com, we've got our film and things like that up there. Basically any of the games in 2019 will show you some of the good and the bad. Think of games against big ACC competition, North Carolina. You can see them against Boston College, and that'll give you a little bit of the bad. There's a lot to look at with Surratt in 2019 and be able to kind of get a fair picture of him. I don't know that necessarily, is this guy going to be a big play threat, uses an X? Then he probably will be an intriguing prospect, late 2nd, early 3rd. I'll just be interested to see how this combine season goes for him. Team's intrigued. That's the important thing. The team is very intrigued by him. Could be a sleeper. So keep that in mind. We love you guys. We thank you, and we'll talk to you again soon.